Serious, in the heat of anger, what was the worst decision you've made? What were the consequences? Car broke down for the 20th time. Barely made it back into the driveway. No money for repairs. Angrily kick the rear of the car. Smashing the tail light. Yell at my own stupidity and throw the keys far into the tree line. Immediately have to go find them because my house keys were also on there. Comma gets mad. Does something stupid. Goddamn. Why did I do that? Comma gets mad. Does something stupid. Telling a judge whatever. Frick this court in the city of Richmond. Consequence. 30 days in jail for a contempt of court charge. On a list of things not to say in court, that would be right up there. Punched a cop in the nose and broke it. It was instinctual after having a fricking horrible day coupled with some creepy sucker following me for 4 blocks. I thought it was the creeper, not the cop I hit, when I felt a heavy hand on my shoulder. The cop was freaking out on the ground and his partner pulled his gun on me, yelling to put my hands up. I had to explain why that mistake happened. Worked okay, but had to go to the police station to explain my story. Found out the cop was about to ask me if I noticed my wallet was about to fall out of my pocket. Ends up with the broken-nosed cop saying it was okay and that it would be let go if I bought him the burgers he was on his way to get. His grin was comedy gold. Ended up buying burgers for the whole department. That was expensive. Beat doing time for assaulting an officer, and certainly cheaper than your lawyer's fees would have been trying to defend yourself against it. Got into drunken fight with wife. Drove off angrily, crashed into tree, spent a long time in intensive care, almost died, face permanently disfigured. My mom's husband did this while we were camping. He drove away drunk, abandoning us in the woods, except he didn't suffer injuries. The tree was in a national park and he did time in prison. My older sister was teasing me mercilessly when I was about 8 years old. I was stewing over it for about an hour and decided that the best revenge would be to destroy her favorite blanket that our mother had made by hand. One for her, one for me, cut from the same cloth. I grabbed her blanket and a pair of scissors and proceeded to cut the blankie to ribbons in front of her. She started laughing hysterically, which was not the reaction that I expected. I looked at what was left of the blanket and saw my initials on it and realized that I had mistakenly destroyed my favorite blankie. To be fair, there was still a lesson to get out of this. In a heated argument with my mum, I shouted "suck my dong." Instantly regretted that. My dad used to have a serious drinking problem. One night, when I was in high school, I was driving home from work and the town I lived in was very small. I ended up driving behind a truck that I was pretty certain was my dad's. Now I should add that I was driving with my brights on because one of my headlights was messed up and it wouldn't turn on without having the brights on. Well, I am driving home thinking how funny it is that I ended up behind my dad when he slows down and comes to a complete stop at a curve where I couldn't get around him. I was very confused. He gets out of his car and starts screaming at me from his car. He is calling me all sorts of names and grabs a Frosty from Wendy's and throws it at my car. He ended up throwing it so hard it dented the middle of my hood. I was absolutely terrified. He had gotten mad like this before and I seriously had no idea what I had done to pee him off. He starts walking towards my car, and even though he was a good distance away, I could see the look of rage in his eyes. I was physically shaken, so much so that I couldn't even manage to cry because I was so terrified. Turns out, my dad had gotten into an argument with a guy in the Wendy's parking lot who had a similar car, and since I had my brights on, he couldn't tell it was me. Not to mention he was probably drunk. When he got to my door, I assume he planned on grabbing the dude out. He just stopped frozen. He got back in his truck and drove away. When I got home, he walked into his room, grabbed a bag and left to stay in a hotel and start getting help. He couldn't look me or my mother in the eye. Crap, well, at least this was his wake-up call. Found out a good friend abused my little sister, him 16, her 9. I was around 12 at the time. Walked to his house. When he answered, I hit him in the head with a metal bat. Ding. Consequence for him, some juvie time. Mine was being depressed and feeling like I failed my family. But crap, the sound of the ding from the bat on his head kept me going. Dude, you're a good brother. When I was abused as a kid, my brother told me it was my fault for being too needy. Way to actually stand up for your family. I was playing chess with my mom. I was in my elementary school's chess club at the time, so I thought I was pretty hot crap. I was 10 however, and she was an adult, so she was beating my ass without effort. I was a small dickhead, so it didn't take long for me to reach my 10-year-old boiling point. In a fit of misplaced child rage, I picked up one of her knights and I bit it. It was a cheap plastic set, so I managed to take a chip out of it. The knight remains chipped, and to this day whenever I get upset about something mum just says don't bite the pony. The knight remains chipped, and to this day whenever I get upset about something mum just says don't bite the pony. That's hilarious. Your mom sounds fun. Around when I was 9 years old, my older sister was always a bit of a bully to me. At the time she had a broken leg and was using crutches to get around. While walking down the stairs, she hit me with one of her crutches. Apparently at the time I had had enough of her crap, so I turned and kicked both her crutches out. Halfway down the staircase, she fell down about 9 stairs and probably had to keep the cast on her leg for another few months because of that. Bet she learned her lesson though. I was probably around 12. My older sister had a friend over and was being really mean to me. She was in her room with the door shut, so I took some string and tied her doorknob to mine across the hall so she couldn't open it. Of course right after I did that, she knocked a bottle of nail polish remover onto a candle and lit her carpet on fire. Yes, I cut the string. No, they weren't hurt. Her friend actually told her to stop being so mean to me. But the next time I'm 12 and upset, I'll remember that teenagers aren't very responsible with fire. I really thought that was going in a really bad direction. Not me, but my brother. Hope the entertaining story makes that okay as a submission. So my brother is a rageaholic, especially when playing Xbox first-person shooters. He has thrown and destroyed about 5 or 6 Xbox 360 remotes. These things range from $50–$60 each. He doesn't buy off-brand knockoffs. One night, during a peak of extreme intensity, he was moments away from smashing another remote, hand raised in the air, ready to be smashed to the ground as hard as possible. Suddenly, a brief lucid thought crossed his mind. Perhaps I shouldn't do this. It's going to cost me another $60 if I break this remote. But, rage overflowing, hand already in the air, all he could alter about the decision in that split second was to smash the remote down onto the couch instead of the floor. Well, it just so happened that he had placed his brand new iPhone on the couch earlier, before starting his gaming session, and completely forgot it was there until the moment the remote made a shattering contact with it. This of course, triggered some sort of super rage. I tried to not break my remote. How could fate do this to me? I believe is an semi-accurate paraphrasing of his thoughts. With super rage mode activated, the obviously logical course of action was to kick the 50-inch projection television as hard as he could. He put his foot right through the screen, decided to get blackout drunk, and woke up to a destroyed living room with a shattered iPhone and destroyed TV filled with vomit. He vaguely remembers laughing as he threw up into the hole in the TV. The Xbox remote was fine though. I love that he threw up in the hole in the TV. Throwing my phone because I was arguing with the Lenovo customer support about the warranty on my broken laptop. The phone hit the TV, which cracked the screen on the phone and TV. Now that I'm using Internet Explorer on a library computer, I regret everything. I can totally see that happening because phones are just so perfect for throwing in anger. I can't even remember all the times I got upset after a conversation and then just threw the phone on the table until it bounced back one day and cracked the mirror. I was eating some tuna after having a very bad day. My younger brother kept teasing me for something I don't remember now and wouldn't shut up after I told him to several times. All of a sudden I snap, grab my fork and launch it at him. Fork hits him in the head. 5 seconds later blood starts coming out of his head with increasing intensity. Consequences? A lesson. If you are having a bad day, don't take it out on others, especially your family, which is the only group of guys that really give a crap about you. And for life scar on his head. When I was 14, I kicked my dog. It didn't hurt her badly. She licked me afterward. But I can't think of anything I've ever done in anger that I have regretted as much or for as long. It's been 23 years and I still remember her turning to lick me. What an amazing animal. Punching a huge dent in the side of the refrigerator. I am not a smart man. Me too. Bastards are heavy and don't have much give. When I was 14, My dad forgot to pick me up after school, and he told me to find my own way home. I walked approximately 8.5 miles to get to my house. Then he wouldn't let me in. I was so angry I went to my neighbor's house. Kid in the same grade as me lived there, Mike, and when I told him what happened he said I could come in. He had an older brother who smoked cigarettes and weed. I had never before smoked, drank, etc. But I was mad, really mad. We stole all his crap, got high and smoked all night in Mike's bedroom. Consequences: 11 years later, still smoke cigarettes, dealing with cancer. Worst decision ever. All because I was angry with my dad. I was a little kid around 8 years old, and I had gotten in a fight with my sister. I got really pissed off and threw one of those mini CDs at her in a rage. It was a GameCube game, I think. It curved perfectly through the air and hit her right between the eyes. I'm laughing about it now, but she had a scar for a while. After a series of frustrating events, frick it, today is a good day to try a cigarette. Still trying to quit 9 years later. Our electronic cigarette. 12-year smoker. Smoking pack and a half a say when I found that subreddit. No cigarettes in 50 days. Didn't say goodbye to my mum the last time I ever saw her. Wished in my head she'd die. Only because I was pissed off she and my brother were going to Fiji without me and I was stuck with having to go to work. But I didn't realize it was because her radiation therapy hadn't worked and she was pretty much going home to die. I had no idea it had progressed to that stage, so when she came to hug me I turned away. So she gave me a side hug. Well, that was the best she could do and she was pretty weak at that stage. I still feel like the shittiest person alive thinking about her face that morning and her little bony frame pressed up against me. Years ago I was super pissed at my roommate because she couldn't keep a secret. So I punched a framed picture of her that was on the wall. The glass cut into every one of my knuckles. The worst was my thumb. The blood took forever to stop, and I just bandaged it really tight. After about 3 days, I started to notice red streaks running up my arm. I showed my dad, and he took me to the hospital. Turns out, I cut my tendon, and the joint had gotten severely infected. The doctor said that I was hours away from losing my thumb. After surgery, I had to stay in the hospital for 5 days with a knife hooked up. The morphine was nice though. When I was a kid, my little sister did something to enrage me. She is standing in front of one of the walls and I decide to wind up and launch the biggest haymaker a 6-year-old can muster. It was a glorious swing that ended up impacting the wall as she matrixed out of the way. I end up running to my mom screaming and bawling that my sister was mean, so I tried to punch her, but she moved, causing me to injure myself. My mom laughed at me and walked away. In an argument with my now wife at our first apartment, I, being alpha as frick, decided it was best to show her my love by punching a wall. 2 things. 1. I had to repair the hole in the wall. 2. I found a stud. You have been visited by the fashion doggo. Comment your envy strengthens me so you always look beautiful. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.